I just got a $4,500 booking in 5 days on my Airbnb in West Virginia. And here's why paying off your mortgage could be an underrated strategy. I got this idea by watching Robuilt and Coach Chad Carson's episode on Robuilt's channel. Check it out if you haven't. It's super cool. But he talks about a small and mighty portfolio. So he says a lot of people can retire with about 4 to 5 investment properties. And I really think that's actually true. And it's going to be especially powerful using something like rural rental real estate, which is what I actually recommend a lot of my students and clients do, because these homes are not $800,000 like the homes that I have to buy if I were investing in San Diego, California, where I live currently. So my home here, it cost me $860,000 to buy, and it makes pretty much the same amount as my homes in West Virginia or the other homes that I recommend people buy, which are in Kentucky, like some in South Carolina that I have, in Florida. The homes are just much more affordable. And there's actually a lot of benefits to buying in these places because they're actually protected. So versus like buying in San Diego, plus there's just so many barriers, like the huge purchase price. There's so much competition. And everyone is just like willing to invest here because it's in California. So people who have lived here for ages, these boomers who have all this money and equity tied up in their homes in like San Francisco or LA, are like moving down to San Diego, and they just have the money to do it. So if they want to spend $1 million to buy a home that will make them $100,000 a year, they'll do it because that's technically like a 10% return for them. But for most of us who are Gen Z millennials, we don't have that luxury of building all the equity. We're only 30 to 35 years old. 45, some of us 25, whoever's watching. I'm not really sure who my demographic is, unfortunately, but the people who resonate most with me generally don't have $1 million or $300,000 sitting in their bank accounts. They have like $50,000 sitting by. And to get started on a small and mighty portfolio, which is 4 to 5 short-term rentals, specifically AirbNbs in these rural places, you can get started with about $50,000. And if you want to retire in like within 5 years, so by 2029, it's definitely possible with this type of strategy. So what you'll do is just save money, like a 10% vacation home loan down payment for these $200,000 homes, furnish it, get it ready, list on Airbnb, and make maybe $6,000 every single month net, potentially, sometimes depending on how well you do it. And again, because these properties are in rural locations, no one else is really setting up really nice properties. So you're going to pretty much be the nicest property in the area. The things you have to deal with and that you're solving is actually getting things furnished, getting things set up, and just making it happen. And then I'm not going to talk much about the actual process. I have another video that I'll link in the comments below if you want to watch how I do that. But it's a lot of people say it's quite boring, just because how is not always as fun as like why. So up again, down below. But I think it's totally possible. You do this with around $250,000, and eventually by the end of the day, I'm fairly confident you'll be able to net $10,000 every single month. And once you get to that point, if your dream is not to become a landlord, which for a lot of people it isn't, like for me technically it's not. I just like the game of business in general, and I think it's quite fun. And there's tons of people like that. But there's also on the other side, where a lot of my family members, they don't want to be landlords. They just want a paycheck so they can kind of spend time with their families. They want a wealth building plan. They want to not have the headaches of like a broken toilet. And then scaling up from past 5 doesn't sound like something that they'd want to do. It sounds like a nightmare. But for me, again, like it's fine. Like that's what I enjoy. And these are the types of problems I want to solve for people. But yeah, if you buy these 5 properties, you have $10,000 every single month. What you can kind of start to do is actually paying them off. And when you actually pay off your home, it just becomes like a weight lifted off. And that's kind of where like Dave Ramsey kind of his plan comes into play. It's just I think a lot of people do it in the wrong order, because when you're young, in the way things are in modern society, it's going to take ages for most people to actually save $1 million if that's their plan. And then real estate ends up being like some sort of option for a lot of people to make it a small business. And small business at the end of the day, most of the time will still outperform the W-2 worker. It's taxed more favorably. My parents were small business owners. I saw what it did for their portfolio. They didn't speak English. They had no money coming here from, another country and having all their assets stripped from them. And having a small business will at least give you an option to collect more money for yourself. So you can go and buy these $50,000 properties and just pay off the mortgages with the cash flow in the business. So say you save $50,000 from your business or your W-2 work, whatever you decide to do. It's easier if you are like a pharmacist or a high six-figure earner to do this also. But most people, their initial problem is a lack of income. Not necessarily the fact that they don't work hard or they're dumb or anything like that. It's just whatever they're doing is just not making them enough money. So what this solves is basically the requirement to actually have money up front, because there's so many different ways to actually get the money needed for this $50,000 to start these rural real estate investment strategies. You can do private money loans. You can partner with your family members, your brother or sister. You can partner with someone you met at a real estate investing conference who doesn't have the information that you now have thanks to you watching this video, because you know it's possible. You can use 0% credit cards, stuff that's like accessible to people as long as you've been working for a little bit. Say you're now 30 years old, you have had a good credit history. There are lending options to you, and you're likely more trustworthy in the bank's eyes and to other lenders because you can afford $1,000 monthly payment because you've again been working and you have this credible history. So you'll buy these homes, and because they're only again $200,000, you can save you can kind of skyrocket this and use the income from your 5 rental properties and start paying them down one by one. So yeah, it might take a year or two, or you can end up selling one of these properties. Like say they went up in price over those 5 years that you're holding, and you potentially have a profit of maybe $300,000. You pay off 2, have a little bit less stress, and still have a property that makes you $4,000 to $5,000 every single month. Because again, we're planning each of these properties to be able to make $4,000 to $5,000 every single month, and then you have 5. And if one is not enough and you still don't like any debt, you can sell off a second one, and then you still have 3 properties that are making $4,000 to $5,000 every single month. And say you sold those 2, and then you paid off your third and final one. Now you no longer have any mortgage debt. You'll likely have $10,000 coming in every single month, and you'll probably have a little bit of a chunk of cash actually, because again, real estate, you make money on appreciation, tax write-offs, the actual rents, obviously, and you can live off this. And if you ever decide you get bored, you can sell those other 3 properties and go into dividend funds. But I personally don't think you should do that. I think you should stay in the real estate field, mainly because again, the dividends you get from real estate properties and actually owning them are much larger than dividends that you get from stocks, like high yield dividend. You get 6%, and these rural Airbnbs, because it's harder to break into, no one else is going to buy them because they're scared to buy in rural areas. No one knows how to do it. They don't know how to find the cleaners, the handymen, the designers, and they don't know how to find the right properties, like which ones are actually going to perform. But that's all stuff that's easily teachable. And again, if you want to check out that video later, that's totally fine, up to you. It's a longer one, 10 minutes. But you do that, your investment's protected. I think it's going to last quite a while. And if it ever stops unperforming, you can just liquidate the property, and now you can go move into something that's a little bit more high performing. So having that option will let you escape from a $170,000 paying job, like mine was, a pharmacist salary of $170,000. You can get these $4,500 bookings in 5 days, and everything else is pretty much pure cash flow. Because again, your mortgage payment on these homes are $1,000 to $2,000. Worst case scenario, if you're ever feeling scared, if you still feel like it's too risky, you can just go work your job again, 1 to 2 shifts. As a high 6-figure earner, will pay for your mortgage. So that's very unlikely your home is gonna get taken away. And that's why I love real estate investing. Why I think that paying off your mortgage is technically a viable option if you don't like real estate. And for most people, the goal again is not to become a homeowner of 100 homes. They just want to go, pick blueberries, go on hikes, spend time with their kids, and have a good life. And I think real estate and being a small and mighty investor is definitely a really great option.